We've got the latest on the Vikings head coaching search coming up, and if you want to know once the Vikings hire a head coach and more conversations on their coordinators and everything on this new coaching regime for Minnesota, hit that big red button and subscribe. We're going to keep you guys updated on everything going on around this Vikings job, so if you haven't already, join us for more free videos by subscribing right now. You're watching Minnesota Vikings Now. I am Tom Downey. We begin today's show with the Jim Harbaugh to the Vikings rumors and conversations. The news that broke earlier this weekend, I'll call it, is that Minnesota requested and received permission to speak with Jim Harbaugh from Michigan. Now, it's a formality in terms of the request and received. It is in Harbaugh's contract. He has to let the Wolverines know, but there is nothing like barring them from speaking, technically speaking. Now, the reports right now, or is it this was more of an informal conversation on Saturday between these two sides, not a full-fledged formal interview that could happen later on this week for the two parties. They're just to gauge the interest, see how things are going from that perspective. I'll make note that yes, Vikings GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah was involved in San Francisco's organization when Harbaugh was the head coach, but it might not be as extreme as some are trying to. We'll break that down in a minute. At minimum, though, for Minnesota, there's no reason to not call Jim Harbaugh and say, hey, what interest do you have? If you hire Harbaugh, I think you're getting one of the best coaches in the game right now. Everywhere he has gone, he's been a winner. Won at San Diego. Took the Stanford program, built them up, won there. Won with the Niners in a big way. Michigan had a terrible 2020. His stock was as low as ever. Redeemed himself, was the best college coach last year for the Wolverines. Everywhere he's gone, he's been a winner. Now, as for the Harbaugh-Adofo-Mensah connection, I know there are some reports out there that the two are super tight from their time in San Francisco. We have been told at Chat Sports by higher-ranking sources and other people involved, I think, that that's not the case, that those two weren't working together when they were in San Francisco. Could Harbaugh have been impressed by Adofo-Mensah from what he's done with Cleveland? Absolutely. Was Adofo-Mensah impressed by Harbaugh? I think there's no doubts about that one. But I don't believe the reports of a strong relationship from those two just based on the jobs they had when they were both with the 49ers. So what do you think? Will Harbaugh be the next Vikings head coach? Type in Y for yes or N for no. This is the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there, type in Y for yes or N for no. Now, in the end, I don't think the Vikings end up landing him. I think it'd be a great hire. I think it's a bit more likely he sticks with Michigan. I will make note that other outlets from Michigan mentioned Minnesota before they hired Adofo-Mensah, so maybe there's some truth to it. I definitely want to try to get him. I just don't think that's the route Minnesota ends up going. With that said, I would happily be wrong here. This would be a home run hire for the Minnesota Vikings, and I am pleased to see that the organization is at least trying to land Jim Harbaugh. Maybe they come up way short. That's okay. Only way to know is to at least try in the end. Now, today's show is powered by our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Head over to chatsports.com/bet. Use the promo code you see on screen. That is chat125. It'll get you a 125% deposit bonus. Again, chatsports.com/bet. Promo code is chat125. Bet on the playoff games going on right now. Bet on the Super Bowl. Bet on various props, the NFL draft. Anything you want to bet on, you pretty much can with BetUS. 125% deposit bonus with $100 down when you use promo code chat125 at chatsports.com/bet. All right, on now to the other head coaching candidates. Let's start with Kevin O'Connell here, the current Rams offensive coordinator. The news coming out as well for Minnesota is that they have requested a second interview for O'Connell, who of course is set to play coach in his playoff game later on Sunday. Now, reports are there, and again, I don't know how accurate they are, but that O'Connell has a good relationship with Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, again, from their time together in San Francisco. Now, O'Connell's job, by the way, when he first took over in terms of was special projects guy, so that actually could make a little bit more sense, that maybe they did work more than I think Kwesi and Harbaugh ever did. But O'Connell does make sense with at least the knowledge base of what Adofo-Mensah has about O'Connell from their overlap in San Francisco. Even if they weren't working that closely, I think that Adofo-Mensah is able to get good information on O'Connell and his future. Now, he's young, 36 years old, but if you want to swing for the fences, a young GM, a young analytics-minded guy, and a young future head coach in O'Connell, I could get on board with that one. Next up, DeMeco Ryans, the Niners defensive coordinator. Again, some overlap there for Ryans and for Adofo-Mensah when they were both in San Francisco. Ryans is a very intriguing candidate as it relates to the future of the defensive game for the Vikings. I think he'd be a fantastic fit. He also, I forgot to mention, has a second interview request as well for the Vikings job. Fits the mold of O'Connell, very young, 37 years old, a better playing background than O'Connell ever did. I think Ryans intrigues me the most compared to O'Connell because I think his job this year as the Niners play caller on defense is better than O'Connell's job as a non-play caller for the Rams offense. So we're going to break down some more candidates, but first, what type of coach would you guys go hire? Type O for offense or type in D for defense. Let me know in the comment section. All right, again, the interviews in terms of the first round of them, they've all been completed at this point. Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't love that one. I think if you're going to go defensive guy, there are some better options in the end. Now, Jonathan Gannon, the Eagles defensive coordinator, apparently is a finalist for the Houston Texans job. I wouldn't love this hire, but the reports are that he has interviewed very well in his interview process. The Texans are weird. I was underwhelmed by his defensive success in Minnesota or in Philadelphia, but there are some ties, so I get why the interest is there. Patrick Graham is next up here. This one is interesting because, especially say the Rams hire Kevin O'Connell, right? Let's operate on that hypothesis here. You could interview Graham right now for the head coaching gig. The Giants are maybe going to retain him as DC, but he could also be a defensive coordinator candidate under Kevin O'Connell. So, interesting name to keep an eye out for there, for maybe not just the head coaching gig. He was a more recent interview, so another one in the stage one round of them. They did interview Nathaniel Hackett. To the surprise of nobody, he did not take the Vikings job. Instead, he is the new head coach of the Denver Broncos. So I want to acknowledge everybody who got interviewed, but you can cross him off your list. Kellen More, meanwhile, the Cowboys OC, does remain out there as a candidate. The Dolphins are going to interview him for a second time. That makes him a finalist for that particular job. I could see the Vikings still having interest, but I would suspect that Kevin O'Connell, at least for now, is higher on their list than Kellen More. Raheem Morris is next up here as well, the Rams DC. Issues here could arise. You did interview him before the Super Bowl, or before the bye week of the Super Bowl, so you could bring him in again. But if the Rams win, you might have to wait for somebody like Raheem Morris. Does Minnesota want to wait until after, hypothetically, the Super Bowl? I'm not sure. Finally, Dan Quinn, who is still unhired as a head coach, but he has apparently pulled himself out of the runnings for all the different jobs. He is staying in Dallas, reportedly got an extension on his contract. I don't know if the money changed, but extension did happen. He is not a candidate anymore for the Vikings head coaching gig. So what do you think? Who will be the next head coach of the Minnesota Vikings? Head down to the comments section and let me know. Once the Vikings eventually hire their head coach, we will break it down for you right here on Minnesota Vikings Now. I don't know where they're going to go. I am intrigued and excited to see what route they take. I would love Jim Harbaugh. I'm not going to get my hopes up, though. So if you haven't already, hit that big red button and subscribe.